Even if somebody paid me $1 million, I don't want to be pregnant. I think it's an icky feeling. I know people love it. It grosses me out.
They're like puppies. They're cute, and then they grow up.
I think that the proudly child-free by choice are proudly selfish by choice.
Social responsibility is a reason to have children.
No,
with a
it's
family.
not.
Phil, Dutch, but you
No,
don't.
I know things, and you're wrong.
I grew up under the assumption that man, woman, have baby, white picket fence, and that was the expectation. But as I grew older, I started to realize that I really didn't want those things. I've never felt called to be a mother. I don't want to live my life based on biology. I have career aspirations and I have passions and I'm fulfilled in that way. And I don't feel like I'm lacking anything in my life because I don't have a kid. I think having kids would bring more anxiety and unhappiness to me because I really don't want them. I don't believe that men and women are always happy in their marriage with kids. A lot of people want a mini me. People don't think critically about the cost of kids, not only financial, but time. A lot of people are trying to heal their inner child. Even if somebody paid me $1 million, I don't want to be pregnant. I think it's an icky feeling. I know people love it. It grosses me out, the thought of being pregnant and having something growing inside of me.
When did you realize that you just really didn't want to have children even for $1 million?
Mid-20s, I would say. I'm 31 now.
And you say people that make the decision not to put a lot more thought into it than people who do, because people that do, a lot of times it isn't even planned.
Well, it's not even that. I think a lot of people don't know that it's an option. And so a lot of people grow up just kind of...
It's the next thing.
Right, next thing, like, okay, engaged, married, house, kid. And I think they're not very thoughtful in that decision. Like, sure, you might really want to be a parent, but can you be a good one? You know, I've had friends even tell me they're pregnant and they're like, how am I going to afford this kid's soccer practices? And I'm like, well, that probably would have been a better thought before you had the baby, kind of thing.
Yeah. People have children for the wrong reasons, a lot. To create a person who has to love you because it was expected by family or society. You want someone to take care of you in your old age. A child shouldn't be born with a job.
Right.
To have an accessory to show off. Oh boy, does that happen a lot. To fix your broken marriage because you're lonely and need a friend. To trap someone into marrying you. To reach a statistical quota, trying to create a mini-me. These are all bad reasons to have a child. The problem with these reasons is they're like puppies. They're cute and then they grow up and they have a lot of problems when they grow up.
And they're not guaranteed to like you either.
That's guaranteed for a period of time. 14 to 16, you're going to be an idiot.
It's a stage that passes, though. They're not going to like you too much, but they love you and you love them. It is sad that there are children born for the wrong reasons, but at the same time, you know, I'm still pro-human, and I think it's a good thing.
I believe everything that you've said, and I am definitely not anti-human.
Yeah, there are those that say we should stop procreating and just let the human race disappear.
Right, and that is not...
Where do you come down on that?
I think people should do what they want. I wish people thought more critically about having kids, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for the world. I think less kids might be good for a period of time because of the climate and all of the resources and things like that. And to your point, you know, we live in a capitalist society and culture and people are consuming a lot. So I think a less populative state could be a good thing, but I think people should do what they want to do.
Think you'll ever change your mind?
No. Absolutely not. I want to live my life the way I want to. I'm an only child, and I do think that hyper-independence in me probably is part of that reason. I'm used to having things my way, and I want to, you know, wake up early, do what I wanted. I don't want to have to accommodate a small child, and ultimately, I just really don't want them, and I don't think that's a safe environment for a kid to be in. I don't want to resent someone that I brought into this world.
What are we going to do in 20 years as the population ages and there's so few children being
A lot of the
born?
demographic issues are also in very specific countries. So
Western countries.
Western countries,
Yeah.
right. African countries,
that's a little
South American
scary.
countries, I still have...
Industrialized countries.
Correct. So there are plenty of people on the
Yeah.
planet.
I think that the proudly child-free by choice are proudly selfish by choice. I think they're openly telling the world that they matter more than other people. and I don't think it's going to lead to happiness or fulfillment for them. It's very hard to grow up unless you have children. And the reason is because it immediately teaches you that someone in the world is more important than you are. So in order to hold a population steady, every woman on average needs to have 2.1 children. Well, it turns out the entire industrialized world now is falling well below that. My generation, especially millennials, they're terrified of this idea of getting married and starting a family. I think it's a desperately mistaken and destructive attitude that's going to leave a lot of people very lonely and very sad, and ultimately will cost us our viability as a society. My choice to have 4 children, for instance, has contributed in some small way to the long-term viability of our social safety net, the social security system, because they will be paying into it when those who did not have kids are receiving benefits. So sometimes you'll hear that, well, it's easy for you to say all this as a man, but women are a different matter. If your issue is just with the fact that women get pregnant and have babies, then I guess take it up with God. Take it up with nature, or whatever it is you think created human beings, because that's the way the world is.
So Shane, you have 4.
Sure do.
And you think people should have at least 2 kids.
Yeah, I think that there's a statistical range that's a reasonable target, and obviously it's going to be different from family to family, but 2.1 is about the range that demographers tell us is replacement rate, meaning you got to have about that many.
Are you really
I'll tell
planning your
you.
families out based on
No,
demographers?
it's a viable concern. See, the conversation behind the conversation
It's a
here-
viable concern from an epidemiological standpoint, but you don't make your family up based on that.
Partly social responsibility is a reason to have children.
No,
within the
it's
family.
not.
Why do you say that?
Because that's not why you have children. You don't make your decisions on your family bond and dynamic based on some statistic that can change across time. You do it based on what your plan is with your partner and what feels right for you. You don't do it based on some statistical model. That's insane.
What shapes what feels good to you and your partner? Could there be a cultural shaping influence?
No.
No?
Hell no.
You don't think so?
Yeah,
I know.
So Dr. Phil, you
No,
don't
I know things and you're wrong.
The point I'm trying to get to, though, is that there's a reason behind what seems good. There's a reason behind the consciousness that we have, and it's the messages that are being propagated constantly.
Yes.
The reason that we have a different fertility rate in the United States to, let's say, a pre-developed country in Africa, right, is partly because of the social expectations and the system of cultural desires that are inculcated in people by their surroundings. We're not creatures that come up with our beliefs out of thin air, like some kind of, enlightenment thinker in their bathtub.
Because we have birth control.
Yeah,
That's a big part of it. I agree with you.
I have to disagree. The reasons we have the low birth rates that we have in our nation and in other Western nations is because we have higher education rates for women. We have better health care, access to health care for women. We have access to birth control for women.
So women in
have a choice.
Nigeria have more children because they're stupid?
No, I didn't.
You know, there's a
I
difference
never
between
said that.
stupid and educated.
And access to health care.
Because they're uneducated.
No,
Is that what
I
you're saying?
didn't. No,
So the desire to have many children could only be because you're uneducated.
No, I said health care.
Now, are you trying to win an argument or are you trying to solve a problem? Now, are you trying to win an argument or are you trying to solve a problem?
I think the winning of the argument contributes to the solving of the problem.
What does health care and birth control have to do with a person's intellect?
Birth control shapes our consciousness. And what I mean by that is it's something that caused us to think about our bodies differently. So before the pill, broadly speaking, sex meant the high possibility of babies. After the pill, we all become consumerists about babies. We begin to believe that this is a choice. It's a thing that we do, just like buying a pair of shoes or buying a car or buying a boat or something. This is actually extraordinarily weird historically.
You
to think
understand
of
we've been
things that way.
controlling birth since before the pill.
Oh, there have been methods, but the reason the pill took off was because it was the most effective method ever invented, right?
Well, not anymore, but at the time, yes, it was the most effective.
Yeah.
Well,
What's most effective now?
sterilization.
Okay, so like breaking your body, like cutting tubes and things is the most effective.
I mean, I wouldn't agree that that's breaking your body, but
Why not?
Because I don't agree that that's
No.
breaking
You've
your
got a
body.
system. You've got a system of organs. It's meant to do a certain thing, right? It has a biological purpose, and you're going to cut pieces of it off, and I mean, literally speaking, mutilate it. What else do you call that?
I call it surgery.
Okay. What? What other surgery? In what other surgery do we break a healthy system?
I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not going to run through the various surgeries with you because I'm not able to. I don't know what your credentials are. You can tell me if you want, but
You're happy with 4 children.
Oh, it's the best part of life for me.
Are you going to have more?
I don't know. We may. I'm not the one who actually decides in a like a voluntaristic way to. What that means is like, I go into it and I say, okay, I'm gonna have. It's time for kids now. I think kids are something that actually come to you often unexpected. That's part of what a gift is.
I think the reason that my wife and I really embraced having a big family of our own is because we both came from big families and we both benefited from it. From a mental and psychological standpoint. The main problem that I have with the childless by choice movement is that it's a bit antagonistic towards those of us that have chosen to have families and to have children. They're not challenging themselves. They are becoming weak. They are becoming complacent. And children help challenge you and form you in ways that I can personally attest are next level. There's a lot of research that shows that people that had children and had families have more meaningful lives. They've actually had studies that show that Alzheimer's and dementia start to recede when grandparents are surrounded by their grandchildren. You're being lied to. You're being misled. Don't buy the lies. Get married, have babies, and protect those kids and serve them.
7 children.
7.
When you have 7 children, you have to play zone defense,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right? What kind of future do you think dinks and child-free people are in for?
Well, it'll be full of material goods. It'll be full of fun times. But I don't think it'll be joyful, right? And I think that there's a distinction between being happy and being joyful. And I think that happiness is really a counterfeit version of joy. Joy is deeper. You know, when I was 11 years old, I got a Nintendo 64, and I was very happy, but I wasn't filled with joy over it. But the rewards that you get from having children and having a family, you know, we just had number 7, and when you see the other 6 children hold that baby and kiss that baby and take care of that baby and participate in their family and give of themselves and sacrifice, it's one of the most beautiful and rewarding things you can experience.
And are you going to have more?
Only if God sends them our way. I mean, Dr. Amy, I'd love to ask you a question. How would you feel if your parents chose to be childless by choice and to not have you?
I obviously would have no idea. I mean,
Okay. Lance, how would you feel if Dr. Amy's parents chose to be childless by choice and you didn't have a wife right now?
Why wouldn't I have a wife?
Well, you wouldn't be married to her.
That's right.
So your argument is that none of us are really unique. None of us really fill a
that's not-
unique gap.
no, that's a straw man. There's billions of people on this planet. I happened to end up with her. I could have ended up with anybody.
So you could have married anyone else besides Amy.
No, I didn't say I could marry anyone else. I said there are billions of people on
But
this
you just
planet.
said it didn't matter if she was never
No,
born.
I'll turn your argument around.
Please.
What if my parents had not moved from Abilene, Texas to Rochester, Minnesota? I would never have met her. So I would be a miserable, unmarried, unhappy man, is what you're saying.
yeah.
No, I don't know.
But that's the sum of your argument.
All I know is that, so my wife, she was actually the 6th in her family. And her mother had a stillborn right before her. Had every reason to give up on having children. It was a terrible situation, but they ended up having another baby. And I'm so glad that they didn't stop having children.
Right.
See,
My life would be totally different.
There's a serious flaw in your argument, and that is you can't play the what if game
Right.
Yes.
unless you're going to play God.
I think you can. My overall point is that each one of us is unique. Each one of us fills a different role, and the world is better with us in it. And I think it's unfair to really pretend like each one of us doesn't matter. It's a nihilistic mindset. Each one of us is necessary. But if we're gonna pretend like you could have just married anyone else and been happy without ever meeting Amy, fine. That's gonna be an awkward car ride home.
It's not pretend.
Yeah,
It's not pretend.
Well, then that's heartless. And
Should
it's
make a
cold.
great
It's
movie.
No.
absolutely cold. My life, I can't imagine marrying anyone else besides
Well,
my
let me
wife.
ask you something. How do you know that it wasn't God's plan for her to not have children?
I don't, and I look. I don't argue that everyone needs to have children. I think there are plenty of people that contribute to society, that give back to
But you
society.
don't think I'll have a happy life? Is
I don't.
your argument?
Your personal happiness is of no concern of mine. Right? I'm just telling you. I don't. No, it doesn't
he
affect
takes
me.
care of everyone but you.
No,
He
but
cares
it's
about
not,
everyone but you.
But it's not my job to make you happy. My job is to provide for my
I thought you
family,
said
and make
it
sure that they're
was.
good people.
Yeah, you said you cared about everybody.
You said that having children brought a happiness or a joy.
I think it brings joy to the world. It brings more love to the world. What are you all contributing to the world? I'm contributing 7 kids that are gonna be taxpayers.
So-
they're gonna fund
so
your Social
basically,
Security.
making
They're gonna fund your
babies-
Medicare.
Hold on a second.
No, but I'm telling you what I'm contributing to the world.
I pay for your children's schools.
Yeah.
Yes, you want uneducated, illiterate children in the world?
No, we're not saying we have a problem with that.
Right. You're saying your kids are going to support us in our old age. I'm saying I'm supporting your kids in their young age.
Yes.
My wife teaches your kids. I work in assessment and I make sure that your kids get good jobs. So this is just nonsense.
And we're not saying
Childless
there's
by choice
anything
is a
wrong with
great
that.
way to make sure that there are a lot of unemployed teachers out there, that there are a lot of unemployed
So we just have to
pediatricians.
keep making more and more people.
No, you have kids
Ad
because you love
infinitum.
your wife.
That's
you have
kind of
kids
what the
'cause you wanna share
mortality of
gift
human
life.
beings means. It means you
Yes.
do have to continue making more people in case this concept isn't clear.
But you made 4, so you got us covered.
Yeah.
You had 7, so you got all of us covered.
Unfortunately, that's what's happening. And you cannot be an autonomous individual who goes into your
Why
Why
elder
do you
years
think
and
we're
says,
autonomous?
I don't need anyone.
We
Why do you think?
contri-
Yeah.
I don't understand.
You will rely on other
Yeah.
people's children to take care of you in a nursing home someday.
No.
That's possibly true. Let me
So
tell you
will
why.
you.
Let me
So
tell you why.
will you.
My retirement savings will be paying your kids to take care of me in my nursing home.
Okay, and is that a